there this morning? All right. Well, if you're here in person, we'd like you to ask to cut your iPhones off, put your iAms on, if you'd like to stand, we'll get started with our first song this morning. This is where we learn and grow, find the things we really know, look inside to find a way, start a brand new day. Good morning, unity, welcome to harmony, come through those open doors, this church is yours. Good morning, everyone. You're shining like the sun. Glad I made it here in time. This church is mine. This church is mine. This church is mine. Let's sing about peace, love, and understanding. Let's lend a hand, every boy and girl and woman and man. Peace, love, and understanding. It starts with us today. We hear the news, the fear is raging. Look on the screen, illusions are calling. We all feel the pain and think our hope is gone, but peace in the world begins with one. Sing about peace, love, and understanding. Let's lend a hand, every boy and girl and woman and man. Peace, love, and understanding. It starts with us today. We think there's nothing that we can do. It's not too big, it's a simple truth. Just be the change and the work is done. 'Cause peace in the world begins with one. Let's sing about peace, love, and understanding. Let's lend a hand, every boy and girl and woman and man. Peace, love, and understanding. It starts with us today. It starts with us today. It starts with us today. I am the thinker who thinks the thought that changes things that shape my life. I am the thinker who thinks the thought. I have the power to change my life. If you ask
that great unity affirmation, there's only one presence and one power in the universe and in our lives. God, the good, omnipotent. Well, let me tell you a true story, which I think really ties into that. And if we could get the first slide up, there we go. There we go. This is obviously a devastation. Noel and Sharon Sloan, good members of Unity of Roanoke Valley, his job moved him to Abington, which is like around 2 hours south of Roanoke. He occasionally comes, like for Easter and all that, they'll come up. They were wonderful volunteers in our youth and family ministry program, really wonderful. I get a call, their house is burned down. Their house is burned down. Not only that, Noel has pulled a tendon. He has a loose bone in there. He's going to have to go in for an operation, pain, everything else like that. I rushed down to Abington to be with them. And when I get there, you know, you would think they would just be devastated. A fire, I mean, literally, they were telling me about it. They literally got out of the house 10 seconds later. The roof was on fire and comes crashing down. They were so incredibly positive. Said, you know, we all got out, God is good. Really felt spirit, and the house was going to get rebuilt. People are donating this and that. They said, stay for dinner. I said, no, I don't. Stay for dinner. We have more food than we know what to do with. And what I'm getting at is that they had gone through, Noel is going through this health challenge. Their roof and the house just literally burned down, and they were positive. They remained centered in these principles when the rubber meets the road. And I think that's the truth. When we can start looking at, beyond just saying there's one presence, one power, God the good, omnipotent, when it becomes more than just mumble words, when it becomes something which radiates from us, then even when we face the crisis du jour, we have a power and a strength to walk with a real positive stride in our step and know that we are overcomers. And if I could get to the next picture, there's their house, which is rising. Insurance, yes, but also a lot of people have contributed. I got to tell you, when I went down to see them, when I came away, Teresa and I visited, my little 7-year-old and I visited them. I had this feeling, I was the minister, I was supposed to be ministering to them, but they more or less ministered to me because it showed me really, you can go through really tough times, but if these principles can come alive inside you, then you really are going someplace. And so with that in mind, let's just say a quick prayer. Dear Mother, Father, God, dear Spirit, thank you for this time of year where we're shifting seasons from the growing season to the harvest season. Thank you for the abundant harvests in our lives. And where there are challenges, may we see them as opportunities for spiritual growth. And for this and for so much more, we say thank you and amen and amen.
Hello. Let's affirm our mission statement together. Unity in the Seven Hills is a vibrant, inclusive community that inspires individual spiritual growth through education, prayer, heart connection, and sacred service. And now our vision statement. Centered in spirit, we see a world transformed by divine love, where innovative solutions are celebrated and all needs are met. And now our unity principle of the week, which is, it is not enough to understand spiritual teachings. We must live the truth we know. That is our fifth principle. So let's say that together. It is not enough to understand spiritual teachings. We must live the truth we know. And our daily word. Our daily word today is thoughtful. My kind thoughts and deeds are a blessing. Today, I bring the love and peace of God to all of my encounters of being thoughtful. More than politeness and deeper than kindness, thoughtfulness means I consider the comfort and happiness of others equal to my own. My intention is to let those in my life know what they truly mean to me. I may reach out to someone who needs an encouraging word, letting them know that they have what it takes to succeed. I may surprise someone with a kind act, anticipating a need and taking care of something for them before they even have to ask. Each thoughtful word and act lets those in my life know how important they truly are to me and how worthy they are of my time and attention. Do not neglect to do good and to share what you have, for such sacrifice are pleasing to God. Hebrews 13:16. And now, let's bless our youth together. You are a perfect child of God, and God and I love you just the way you are and wherever you are. Sure.
All right. Let's sing this bright light of mine.
Now you can hear me. So first off, I want to say next week is our picnic, and I'm not sure yet if I'm going to be there because my vacation starts after service today, and I haven't figured out if that's going to include Sunday or not. So if I am not there, next Sunday is at sundown is the beginning of Rosh Hashanah, which is the Jewish New Year, and is also sometimes known as the Day of Judgment. And so if you can, what I would like for everyone to do is take a piece of paper and write down everything from this past year that has weighed on your soul, everything you think you've done wrong, things you wish you had done. Just write them on a piece of paper, read them back to yourself, take a moment with them, forgive yourself and release them, and start the year afresh. And that'd be a great way to start the Jewish New Year, even if you don't celebrate. It's a good activity to do. And remember that even when we do some things we're not too happy about, that without the dark, we can never see the stars. How's that for a segue into the song? Before we get started, this is a song by Daniel Capel. This is a cover of it. I'm sorry, Daniel, I took a few liberties with it, but we're going to have some fun. Even the moon has a dark side, where all the colors go away. The eye is captured by the bright light. My shadows are more to say. My shadows are more to say. My shadows are more to say. the dark, we would never see the stars. Never see the stars. Never see the stars. Without the dark, we would never see the stars. Never see the stars. Never see the stars. So I'll shine my light into the dark. 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 Secrets and the dark truths are hidden. I looked inside to see what's mine. There's a past that I've not yet written. It's because of my darkness I shine. It's because of my darkness I shine. It's because of my darkness I shine. Without the dark, we would never see the stars. Never see the stars. Never see the stars. Without the dark, we would never see the stars. Never see the stars. Never see the stars. So I'll shine my light into the dark. Shine my light into the dark. Oh, shine my light into the dark. Shine my light into the dark. Lost child in the nightmares, between the shadow and the soul. I reveal myself in thick-skinned layers. Beast and angel make a home. Beast and angel make a home. Beast and angel make a home. Without the dark, we would never see the stars. Never see the stars. Never see the stars. Without the dark, we would never see the stars. Never see the stars. Never see the stars. So I'll shine my light into the dark. 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 Go on and shine your light into the dark. Go on and shine your light into the dark. Go on and shine your light into the dark.
Reverend Dr. Rick Belous currently serves as a senior minister of Unity of Roanoke Valley. He has also served as the senior minister at Unity Center of Tosa. I'm sorry, I'm not good at pronouncing things. Rick and his late wife, Debbie, started coming to Unity in the Seven Hills when they bought a small second home in Madison Heights in 2007. Rick has remained a member of our church. Prior to his call to ministry, Rick was chief economist for the Unity Way in Washington and an adjunct professor of economics at George Washington University. He has served as an advisor to 2 U.S. presidential commissions, and he's authored or co-authored 13 books on a wide range of economic and social topics. Rick also is currently serving national advisor to Unity Worldwide Ministries. So it is my honor to introduce Rick or reintroduce Rick. We are happy to have you at our church again.
Thank you all. Since I last spoke here, I've taken my daughter Robin up to University of Massachusetts, and Robin said she's going to be watching, so good morning, Robin. And if you're eating your bagel, continue eating your bagel during the message. Don't feel badly about that. And it was great, what Ari was talking about writing. When I was 6 months old, I was adopted into a Jewish family. And Rosh Hashanah, the Jewish New Year, you do write down. It's a tradition of writing down, things where you felt you didn't hit the mark in that year, where you would like to go. We do this a lot of times during burning bowl ceremonies at the end of the year, but they don't do a burning bowl. What they do is something called tashlik. Is you take it, you go down to Jewish communities in Lynchburg probably will go down to the James River and throw their stuff into the James River and start from there. I was a wonderful family. I loved my parents dearly. I idolized my father. I was an only child. When I was 17 years old, my father died. And after that happened, I guess to steal from Johnny Paycheck, my feelings were you could take your religion, and if God was not going to do anything, you can take your religion and shove it. And so for the next number of years, from 17 into my mid-20s, I don't know, I was an atheist / agnostic, who knows, I mean, Woody Allen tells a story in one of his early movies. He said he had to have separate from his girlfriend over religious differences. He was an atheist, she was an agnostic, and so they got separated. But anyway, in the middle of my 20s, I had several really profound spiritual experiences, which shocked the bejeebies out of me. And it was later on reading C.S. Lewis, about C.S. Lewis's conversion. It was very similar to that, to realize you're not the first or only person who's ever gone through this. That so far has been the easy part. But then a spiritual mentor to me then said, Rick, you really shouldn't be the Lone Ranger spiritually. You really should be in a spiritual community. And so I thought, all right, I'll get in a spiritual community, but finding that spiritual community was difficult. I mean, it was really, truly difficult. Finally, a friend, after not being successful, a friend said to me, I've been going to this Unity church. This is Unity of Fairfax up in Northern Virginia. I've been going to this Unity church. I said, I've told you I went to the Unitarian church, and he said, no, not Unitarian, Unity. He said, let's go Sunday. And so I went with him on the Sunday, walked in, and I had this sense of coming home. It was so interesting when Reverend Laurie led the workshop a few months ago and went around the room and asked, what was it like when you first came to Unity? What do you really hope for Unity of the Seven Hills? And all? So many of you had that same similar experience. You talked about that feeling of coming home, that feeling of an openness of coming home. And so many things when I started coming to Unity of Fairfax, I mean, I took to it like a duck took to water. So many things hit me, which, I mean, right between the eyes. But what really hit me particularly was unity's third principle. Let's remind ourselves, let's remember. First principle, one presence, one power, God, the good, omnipotent, a higher power who loves us, who is on our side, who's not about to chop us off at the knees. That sense of that we were born blessed and remain blessed. Jesus said, I have come that they may have life and have it abundantly. Or it's the Father's good pleasure to give you the kingdom. I mean, that sense of a higher power, of a God, of spirit. And then that's your second unity principle, which is really incredible. That divine spark, it's not just transcendent, it's immanent. That divine spark is inside of all of us. It's been called by many things. We call it the Christ within, but it's been called Buddha nature, Atman, higher self, higher power, the perennial philosophy. It's been called by many, many different names. But that divine spark is inside of all of us. And that is who we truly are. Not our fears, not our sense of lack, not the mistake I made in 1996. You know, I mean, the Fillmore, Charles and Myrtle Fillmore called those things error thoughts. It's not our error thoughts who we really are. It's that Christ within, that divine spark within. But then the third principle that, you know, and we're going to be singing the song a little later, the importance of thought. Our thoughts are prayers, and we are always praying. Our thoughts are prayers. Take charge of what you're saying. It's been said, you know, stating this unity third principle, human beings create their experience by the activity of their thinking. Everything in the manifest realm has its beginning in thought. I mean, and from that, the importance of this then starts coming the law of mind action. A thought in mind produces after its kind. Or the law of attraction. You know, you're sitting in negativity, what do you think you're attracting into your life? Or that, as you know, if new thought can be reduced to a bumper sticker, change your thinking and you change your life. That importance of thought. Now, why did that hit me? Why was that, the unity third principle, so important to me? And I think it is to so many other people. For me, it was because I came from a family, I love them dearly, but I came from a family of wall-to-wall negative thinkers. I mean, wall-to-wall negative thinkers. And there are reasons for that and all that, but I mean, the story of my life before unity, I would get the proverbial football and I would get it down to the 5-yard line and then I'd fumble it. I'd fumble it because I couldn't picture myself getting the ball in the end zone. I can't tell you before unity how many times I literally snatched defeat out of the jaws of victory. I mean, it was, and then to have this third principle, for me, it truly was a game changer. That my thoughts, my prayers were so important, and that really that there's a lot of truth to that. Change your thinking, and you do change your life. So then I become a minister. And how do I teach unity's third principle? How do, you know, stories which can dramatize the importance of this? And what came to mind, and what I'd like to share with you all, several stories about Walt Disney. Walt Disney's one of my heroes. And it's about train rides, true stories, train rides which Walt Disney took. So let's get in our Wayback Machine, as it were. It's now in the 1920s. Slightly before my time. Gets you slightly before almost everybody's time here, but you know, so it's the 1920s. There are new things called movie theaters, and you go see these black and white silent pictures, a typical movie theater experience. You see a Keystone Cop, you see a short cartoon, then comes on the Mary Pickford or the Charlie Chaplin movie, and you're in heaven, popcorn heaven. So, and the organ's playing, and et cetera, et cetera. So Walt Disney started an animation studio in this environment. And it was a rough business, and he's struggling to go. But all of a sudden, Walt comes up with a hit. And the hit is Oswald the Lucky Rabbit. Oswald the Lucky Rabbit. It's a big hit. And if you notice, it's very interesting. Walt does not get top billing on this. I mean, there are a lot of things, and then in the bottom comes Walt Disney. So anyway, he gets a call from it's Mr. Big from the distribution company in New York. Says, Walt, we have a hit with Oswald. We'd like you to come east. We want to talk to you. We have some suggestions we'd like to make to you about how we think this should go and all that. Now again, this is before, Lindbergh has just flown the Atlantic. There's no transcontinental airlines, so he hops on a train and he comes into New York. He comes into Mr. Big's office. Mr. Big says, welcome to New York. Come on in, Walt, have a seat. We are so excited about Oswald. It's a big hit. But Walt, we have some suggestions which we'd like to make to you, how we think this could be improved. First, you're doing what? You're creating these cartoons with what, 40 frames per second? Now remember how animation works. You draw still pictures, one picture's like this, next picture's like that, next picture's like this, and you run this fast enough through the camera and it gives the illusion of motion. Walt's doing 40 of these pictures a second. And Mr. Big looks at him and says, Walt, that's expensive. We think you should be doing like 15, maybe sometimes 20 frames per second, but not 40. So cut it back down to 15 frames per second. Next, we have some other ideas which could cut costs. And we have some ideas about the plot line. You could do this, you could do that, and the other. What do you think? And Walt says, well, I'm very grateful for all you've done, but quite frankly, I can't agree to this. I mean, we think if we really produce a quality product, the market's going to be there. And we view animation as an art form, and no, we really can't do that. Mr. Big says, Walt, I'm really sorry to hear you say that, because let me take out your contract. If you look at this clause right here, it says that we have the right to make suggestions. Shall we call them suggestions? But if you don't take our suggestions, then we have the right to yank Oswald away from you and give it to another animation studio that will do these things. Now, Walt, we love working with you. We don't want to do this, but we will do it if you're not willing to agree. But look, you've had a long train ride. Let's lighten things up a bit. I have Broadway tickets. I want you to see these Broadway shows. I want you to eat at Mama Leone's, at Sardi's. We'll pick up the tab, of course. And I also heard you love art. So I have a good friend who's a curator at the Metropolitan Museum of Art. I've arranged for you to have an afternoon with him. Go have some fun, and then come on back and we'll talk again. So Walt does all these things in New York. He comes back and he says, thank you so much. I mean, it was such an enjoyable time in New York. Mr. Big says, well, what do you think about the suggestions I made? Walt says, I'm sorry to say, but I can't agree to doing them. And Mr. Big says, well, I'm really sorry, true story. He says, I'm really sorry to hear you say that, because we're yanking Oswald away from you, and we're going to give him to we have a studio that's willing to do these things. But look, Walt, if you come up with another idea, another character or something like that, and you're willing to play ball with us, we'd love working with you. Have a great train ride back to Los Angeles. Walt leaves the office. How would you feel? I mean, your big hit, it's yanked away from you. He gets on the train, he's under the Hudson River, fuming. I created this, and it's being stolen from, this life is so, why do these things always happen to me? He's going in, and now the train's going through Pennsylvania. And Walt starts going through, first it was anger, resentment, now he's going through fear. Oh my God, if we don't get the money for Oswald, I'm not sure I can hold the studio together. Without Oswald, financially, it's a disaster. Fear, resentment, anger, all going through. And then the train, and I've gone on this train from New York to Chicago. In western Pennsylvania, it hits this curve right here, the Great Altoona Turn, sometimes called the Horseshoe Turn. The train literally starts off here, goes around the mountain, and comes out, going here. I was in one of the back cars. In a long train, you can see the engine, and the first car is coming back at you. I mean, it's such a big turn. Walt started doing Unity's third principle at the Altoona Turn. That change, that 180-degree change. Walt asked himself, what can I learn from this situation? Instead of sitting there saying, why did this always happen to me? He started asking, what can I learn from this? What can I learn from this? Well, Walt said, the first thing I can learn from this, I am never, ever, ever again going to work for somebody else. I can tell you that. We're going to become our own distribution company. We may be small, but we're going to be becoming our own distribution company, et cetera, et cetera. The other thing I've learned from this, I've learned the importance of lawyers and contracts, believe me. And we're not in the future, we're not going to sign other people's contracts. We'll write, Disney Studios will write the contracts. They can sign our contracts. One of the things, remember when Jesus talked about, if you get hit in the left cheek, turn the other cheek. Makes it sound like, at first blush, you get hit one side, now get hit in the other side. A great interpretation, Emmett Fox and others have an interpretation they have of this. It's what Jesus is saying is when you turn the other cheek, you're turning your focus. You're turning your consciousness. You're doing an Altoona turn. You're doing it like a horseshoe turn. So Walt then said, all right, these are the things I've learned from this, going through this. He gets to Chicago. You change trains in Chicago. From Chicago, he's on another train, and he's heading for Los Angeles. He starts doodling. True story. He starts doodling. And he says, what's this? Looks like a mouse. Looks like a mouse. Well, what does he really look like? And he starts doing how does he move? And he starts, that's how we move. What does he sound like? I mean, it's clear, pictures are moving from silent pictures to talkie. If they're going to be talking pictures, why not talking cartoons? So what does the mouse sound like? And he does that. What kind of situations? Who are his friends? What is he? And he's doing this, and the train's heading towards Los Angeles. Finally, he says, "What's the mouse's name?" Mortimer. Yeah, Mortimer Mouse. That's his name. Walt gets off the train, and then he hails a cab to Disney Studios. And he calls a staff meeting. Believe me, it's a small staff in those days. He gets them in. He says, gang, I have some bad news and I have some good news for you. The bad news is, and he tells them the saga about Oswald the rabbit, what happened. And he says, but here's the good news. Meet Mortimer Mouse. And he starts showing him Mortimer. And he says, and Mortimer's going to talk. It's going to be a talking cartoon. And he starts talking about Mortimer and showing him and the people Mortimer gets associated with and everything else like that. He finishes, and we'll never know, we don't know the name of the animator who said this, but one of the animators in the back of the room says, Walt, I love the mouse, but Mortimer? And Walt looks at him and says, what would you call him? The guy shot back, I'd call him Mickey. Mickey Mouse. Mickey Mouse. And the rest is history. The rest is history. True story. What I so take away from this is, first, if you have to vent, if you have to have a pity party, have the pity party. But you know what? I think there are, a lot of people on this planet, if they had what happened to Walt, it'd be 30 years down the road, and they'd still be sitting there saying, here's my story, it's sad but true. Mm-mm. It's about a rabbit that I once drew. Mm-mm. I created him, then he ran around with another movie distributor in New York town. Hey, sitting in, if you have to have a pity party, if you have to have a pity party, have your pity party. You know, do it. If you have to vent, vent. But don't forget the Altoona turn. Don't forget that change in consciousness where you start working Unity's third principle. Instead of saying, why do... True story, and Therese is here. Therese, I get a call from the school nurse. She's sick. Could you come pick her up? And so I came and picked her up. It was like a 24-hour virus. We're walking out of the school, and Therese says, why do these things always happen to me? You know? And so, I mean, so, okay. So, but, you know, if you have to have this, but make the turn. Make the turn and ask yourself, what can I learn from this? What can I learn from this? And then, as Walt did, Walt literally changed trains in Chicago. And what Walt really did, he stopped living in the problem and he started living in the solution. Stop living in the problem and start living in the solution. And I think that's what Unity's third principle is so about. But it's really, there's another dimension to it, which I think another train ride story of Walt's really demonstrates. So, out comes, Walt creates Mickey Mouse cartoons. He creates Steamboat Willie, dun 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 dun, talking. And then, you know, he gets the idea, Technicolor. Why not have Technicolor cartoons instead of black and white cartoons? Who's afraid of the big bad wolf? The big bad wolf, the big bad wolf comes out. It's a big hit. Then Walt gets the idea. Why should the cartoon be the sideshow? Why can't the animation feature be the main event? And so, hi-ho, it's off to work we go. And there, if we could go to the next picture, there is Shirley Temple giving not only Walt an Oscar, but each one of the seven dwarfs got an Oscar too. There we are. And so it's Disney Studios is an incredible success. Walt's able to buy a very nice home in Beverly Hills with a lot of land. So what does he do? He starts getting interested in railroad models. He always viewed railroads as freedom and venture and all that. But when I say a railroad model, I'm not talking like little Lionel Gauge railroads or, you know, or HO railroad. These are cars which come up to a man's waist. And if we could get to the next picture, there we are, through his backyard, here we are. And, you know, the rock garden has trestle, you know, going over it and everything else like that. And so then, you know, running Disney Studios was stressful. This is the era of the 3-martini lunch. 3-martini lunches were not Walt's thing, but what Walt starts doing is he starts building things like this he actually starts building it in the studio. And there are trains and, you know, so people come around and workers, you know, they love Walt, but here's this grown man on this model train riding this train around the studio. And one of the directors came, because this is costing money, comes up to Walt and says, you know, what's all this leading to? And Walt said, I don't know, but I just love doing it. Come on, hop on, let's go for a ride and get, you know. And so, it reminds me very much of, again, a true story of Michael Faraday, who was that great British scientist, electromagnetism, electricity, and all that. So it's the 1800s. And Prime Minister Gladstone, the great British Prime Minister, comes into Faraday's lab and he looks around and he gets the tour. At the end of the tour, he says to Faraday, of what practical use is your electricity, Faraday? And Faraday looked at him and said, I don't know, Mr. Prime Minister, but perhaps someday you'll be able to vote a tax on it. I mean, think about where would we be in our modern era if there was no electricity. No electricity. So what I get from this unity principle, you know, the prophet Joel said, dream dreams, have visions, even if they're half-baked. even if you're not sure where all this stuff is leading. As the Apostle Paul put it so well, quench not the spirit. Quench not the spirit. Have these dreams, have these visions. Walt had no idea where all this was heading, but he had a dream and vision, and he's doing this. Then it started to combine with something else. Sunday was daddy-daughter days, 2 daughters, and he would take them to amusement parks. And one day he came back and he saw his wife, Lillian. He says, Lillian, I have a vision, I have a dream, this thought. I'm going to create a theme park. Lillian looks at him, an amusement park? Amusement parks, they're dirty, filthy, ugh. No, says Walt, I'm not creating an amusement park, I'm creating a theme park. Every ride will be a story. Everything you do will be like walking into the movies or the cartoon of it, you know? And as cleanliness, don't worry, it's going to be one of the cleanest places on earth. His wife looks and says, what are you thinking of calling it? And Disney says, well, I think I'll call it Disneyland. And then Walt says, and I'm going to have a railroad running all the way around this theme park. Next thing you know, up comes Disneyland. Up comes Disneyland. Our thoughts are prayers, and we are always praying. Our thoughts are prayers. Take charge of what you're saying. Quench not the spirit. Quench not the spirit. I think these stories, these true stories about Walt, really demonstrate some key points about Unity's third principle. First, when you're going through the crisis du jour, when the road is bumpy or whatever, or you feel, oh my God, I've been done wrong, or whatever, you need to vent. You need to have a pity party, have a pity party. But don't forget that Altoona turn. Start changing your consciousness. Instead of saying, why does this always happen to me? Start asking yourself, what can I learn from this? What can I learn from this situation? And then don't forget in Chicago, your metaphysical Chicago, change trains. And stop living in the problem and start living in the solution. And also, dream dreams and have visions, even if one sense they seem to you like half-baked. Another true story I love is about Steve Jobs. Most commencement speeches are not worth the paper they're written on, but if you ever get a chance to see his commencement speech that he gave at Stanford, I strongly suggest you on YouTube or wherever, watch it. It's worth it. One of the things he talks about is that he had this love of calligraphy. And he just took this course on calligraphy, and people were asking him, what are you wasting your time taking? I want to take calligraphy. Many years later, if you remember the early screens on computers, what did the print look like? It looked horrible. It was really atrocious print. Steve Jobs called his engineers and his software writers in, and he said, look, these are my notebooks from calligraphy. I want this up on the screen. Why can't computer writing look as good as this calligraphy? And they created it. And from doing that, says Steve Jobs, of course, Microsoft stole it and became the norm. Not knowing where this calligraphy is growing, and it has had such a powerful impact, as it were, on our lives. So dream those dreams. Have those visions. Wait a minute, what's that? Do you hear it? Do you see it? It's Unity's third principle pulling into the station. Let's get on board, because it's going to take us where we really want to go. All aboard? Thank you, and God bless.
a state of peacefulness, and know that God is always there. And every thought becomes a prayer. Our thoughts are prayers, and we are always praying. Our thoughts are prayers. Be careful what you're saying. Seek a higher consciousness, a state of peacefulness, and know that God is always there. And every thought becomes a prayer. And every thought becomes a prayer.
Our thoughts are prayers, and we are always praying. Our thoughts are prayers. Take charge of what you're saying. Let's take a deep breath in and slowly let it out. Let's take another deep breath in and slowly let it out. Let's close our eyes if we feel comfortable doing so. I'd like you to pretend you're going on a trip, maybe on a train, maybe on an airplane, looking out that airplane window down at the clouds you're now flying above. You may be driving, maybe hiking, or biking, or kayaking, or floating among the clouds in your mind. This unity third principle, quench not the spirit. Change your thinking and you change your life. As we hold on to this and look at the beauty that surrounds us and the peace and the serenity, we can gladly go into the silence. Dear Spirit, dear Mother, Father God, thank you for our minds and the ability to link up with divine mind and to know that who we truly are is so much more than our egos. As Jesus said, all things are possible with God. And for this and so much more, we say thank you and amen and amen.
The light of God surrounds us. I am the light of God. The love of God enfolds us. I am the love of God. The power of God protects us. I am the power of God. And the presence of God watches over us. I am the presence of God. Wherever I am, God is. Wherever I am, God is. Wherever I am, God is. And all is well. The light of God surrounds us. I am the light of God. The love of God enfolds us. I am the love of God. The power of God protects us. I am the power of God. And the presence of God watches over us. I am the presence of God. Wherever I am, God is. Wherever I am, God is. Wherever I am, God is, and all is well.
And now let us affirm our abundance together. Unity in the seven hills is abundantly blessed. Creative people are drawn to us. Divine ideas flow through us. Financial resources bless us, and we accomplish mighty works together. And with that abundance, it is now time to share our blessings. This month, we are tithing to support our food pantry in addition to tithing to our Greater Unity family. Thank you to all who have contributed to our pantry. It has been abundantly used, so we know we are helping lift up the food equity of our neighborhood. There are 4 ways to give: PayPal, Zelle, check, or cash. As our greeter as the greeter, sorry, sometimes, as our greeter directs your row to go, place any gifts in the basket up front, and then join the circle around the sanctuary. If all you have to give today is love, please bless our basket. And now let's sing something wonderful with joy.
Right.
Something wonderful is happening to me right here, right now. I can feel it in my body, I can feel it in my soul, I can feel it in my heart, and it won't let go, no it won't let go. All this love inside, we can let it shine. Something wonderful is happening to me right here, right now. I can feel it in my body, I can feel it in my soul, I can feel it in my heart, and it won't let go, no it won't let go. All this love inside, we can let it shine out. Yes, we can. Something wonderful.
And now please join us in the blessing of the gifts. Divine love fully blesses and multiplies all that I have, all that I give, and all that I receive. United in mind, body, and spirit, I dedicate these gifts as they grow to bless our community, our neighborhood, and our world.
All right. Thank you for joining us today. Calendar of events is available at unityinthesevenhills.org, which also has had a massive revamp done to it. So check out our website. It's a little more visitor-friendly right now. Here's some important upcoming items to keep track of. Next Sunday is our annual picnic and outdoor music service. Come in person because it will not be broadcast. Sorry to those of you at home. Maybe we'll share some stuff on Facebook for you so you can see what goes on. Yes, yeah, so it'll be the annual picnic and outdoor service as well at 10 a.m. over at Humankind. Sign up in the back or contact us to provide food, and contact Daniel if you'd like to add your talent to the musical lineup. Our annual meeting is October 2nd here and on Zoom, so it's coming up in 2 weeks. This Thursday, on your way to our Thursday meditation, y'all come, swing by Blaze Pizza and get a bite to eat. From 5 to 8 p.m. on Thursday the 22nd, Blaze will donate 20% of your purchase back to Unity in the Seven Hills, easy as pizza pie. All you need to do is present the flyer, which we've got some back there. I think they were handed out as well. We have them in the back. Or you can get one from the calendar event on our website. For online orders, make sure to use the coupon code 1178A, and again, that's on the 22nd from 5 to 8 p.m. Reverend Rick will be continuing his workshop on Jane Goodall and her message of hope on Zoom from 7 to 8:30 p.m. tonight. In this workshop, we will learn spiritual practices that can keep us, as Mahatma Gandhi put it, being the change we want to see. The Dream Draw is here today. Join us after service and buy those last-minute tickets. We will go live on Facebook to draw the winner in the Namaste Cafe at 11:30. So make sure you tune in, and we'll see who wins the $200 gift card to Kroger. Mm-hmm. Your prayer chaplain today is Leslie, and she will be around to hold space for you. A big thank you to our guest speaker, Rick Belous, the Reverend Dr. Rick Belous. And don't forget to join us for coffee after service to have a conversation with our ministerial hopeful, which I believe this is the last of the three. And don't forget to fill out your papers as well, so we know how you feel, and the board can better make a decision. We're about to close with a peace song, but before we do, if you're watching at home, like, comment, subscribe, and click that bell so that you know when we'll go live and you can catch us again. Now, if you will, join us in closing with the peace song. Yes, there is peace on earth, and yes, it begins with me. Yes, there is peace on earth, the peace that was meant to be, with God as
my day. Yes, this is my